I recently found myself in desperate need of new t-shirts, and so I figured why not make some and see if I like them just as much, if not more, than my store-bought t-shirts. I then proceeded to Google free t-shirt patterns, and I was overwhelmed with the results. There are so many free t-shirt patterns. The thing is though, that I'm super picky about my t-shirts, and a lot of these were just like not quite the vibe. So I narrowed it down and I found 5 t-shirts that were in the style that I was into, and I decided to make those and review them and share them with you. Was I able to replace my tried and true store-bought t-shirts for ones that I made myself? Stay tuned to find out. The patterns that I decided on were the Mood Fabrics Lavender t-shirt, the Core Fabrics t-shirt, the True Bias Jessie t-shirt, the Grainline Studios Hemlock t-shirt, and the French Navy Stellen t-shirt. At the end, I will show you what they all look like side by side, but I'm gonna go through them one by one, starting with the Mood Fabrics Lavender t-shirt. Off the bat, the reason why I liked this one was because I wanted a bit more of a tighter fit. I wanted that sort of like baby tee look, though I didn't want it super cropped. I'm always a little wary of mood patterns because they're not drafted all that well in my opinion. The instructions are pretty sparse. You have to kind of go in either knowing how to construct what you're making or be able to look up tutorials along the way and also know like when to finish seams, when to do, you know, different techniques and all that. For a t-shirt, I think it's fairly safe, especially if you've made t-shirts before, but if this is your first t-shirt pattern, then I definitely wouldn't recommend it. That said, I really liked the fit, but I was aware of a few potential challenges. For one, I looked at the photos, and while I liked the fit overall, I was noticing that it was gapping around the neckline. And then when I looked at the reviews, I noticed that people were saying that they found that they just couldn't fit it over their head. So what I did was I scooped out the neckline in the front and a little bit in the back. And I actually wish I hadn't done this because I think my fabric had more stretch than what people were using. And I was able to not only get it over my head really easily after my modification, I kind of wish that it was a bit tighter. Speaking of the fabric that I used this really sweet light green pointelle fabric. I've had this in my stash for ages, and I thought it would be really sweet as a sort of little baby tee, as I mentioned. And I think it achieves what I was looking for the most part. I made the smallest size and I did the view A, and as I mentioned, I also took out a bit of the neckline, but I really wish I hadn't done this, as I said, because it does not sit as high up as I like. I do prefer it to be a bit more of like a higher neckline. Things that I like are the final fit. I think it is quite nice. I think I could take it up a bit, but I just have really narrow shoulders and this is kind of an adjustment I usually have to make. I really like the sleeves and I like how the sleeves sit. The length of sleeve is perfect for me, and I really quite like how fitted it is through the body. It has a really nice shape. Some dislikes are that I didn't actually like how the pattern was drafted all that much. It has those old school notches, which I just find kind of annoying when they stick out. I would rather just like cut into the fabric, and that's what I ended up doing instead. Another dislike is the neckline. I almost didn't make it actually because I noticed that weird gaping in the neckline on the models, and I figured I could change that up, and that's why I did that. But I do wonder if I hadn't changed the neckline, if it would have had that weird gaping in the front. It just sits kind of like forward. As I mentioned, mood instructions are always pretty meh, and like you can say, oh, it's a free pattern, but honestly, these other free patterns that I made had such great instructions that it's just, there's no excuse. It should be way better than this. I get that they're putting out like a large volume of free patterns and they're trying to sell fabric and that's like their thing, but yeah, it's just so sparse, and so I wouldn't recommend it if you don't know how to make t-shirts already and if you're not comfortable sewing on your own, because those instructions are not really easy to follow for beginners. I'm gonna rate it a 3 out of 5. I like how it turned out. I like the t-shirt itself. It's pretty good. As I said though, I kind of made up my own procedure as I went. I didn't really refer to the mood instructions because they're not really that clear. And then I also changed the pattern a bit in the neckline. So I don't know if I actually would have liked it if I hadn't changed anything and if I had followed their instructions more. Next up is the Stellen tee, and this one was recommended to me the most. And it's also the one that I've seen on the internet the most as well. It is a really nice t-shirt. I really like the shape of it. Like if you were to draw a t-shirt, to me, that's what it looks like. I really like the shape of the sleeves a lot, and I really was drawn to the higher neckline. To me, that neck is exactly perfect. Like that's where I want a t-shirt to sit. What I liked about this pattern is that I found the drafting was excellent, and I really liked the illustrations. I found them to be probably the most clear of all the illustrations that I followed. I made the 3rd size with no modifications, and I thought that it fit really well through the sides. I also really liked the length of it. I didn't find it too cropped. I think it's perfect to tuck in. Basically everything that the pattern designer said about like her drafting her favorite t-shirt is what I wanted, and it exactly delivered on all of that. The only dislike that I have is I wish the neckline came up higher higher. I had this like promise of this like super high neckline and it just didn't do that for me. That said, it could be my fabric. I use this really soft, a bit of like a drapey or t-shirt fabric, and it could be that it was just too heavy and like it pulled down. I'm willing to accept that. So I would try it again in a more stable knit and maybe it would deliver the neckline that I want. I think I would also make it in the smallest size next time. I just found it a bit oversized. I do like it a lot and I'll wear it a ton, but yeah, I do wish that the sleeves were a little bit higher up, and I think I'll probably make that adjustment as I mentioned because it's something that I always have to do, and then sizing down will also help that as well. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I really like it. I would remake this pattern with the changes that I mentioned. I think it's a really great basic t-shirt. I think it's like the perfect t-shirt for most people if you're looking for something that's just a really neutral fit, that's not too fitted, that's not oversized, that's just like exactly right. I think this is like the Goldilocks of t-shirts. The core t-shirt is the next one, and this is another really great pattern just sort of from the line drawing itself. It checked all the boxes for me. I made the cropped version without the pocket and I made the smallest size. I was a bit nervous about this fabric. It's quite thin and it doesn't bounce back that well, but I think overall it turned out pretty good. My seams are a bit wavier than I would like, but that's just something I need to figure out. I haven't really nailed it yet. You might notice that on my t-shirts there are some like wavy seams, something that I'm working on. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it, but yeah, I didn't quite nail it. I found the neckline to be the best drafted of all of the t-shirts. It's kind of exactly where I want, and I really like how they explained it with the instructions and the notches. They give you the notches exactly where you're supposed to line it up with the neckband and the t-shirt neck, so that means that you don't have to do the whole like quartering, and I found there's like a bit less guesswork. It just is exactly precise. It tells you where to put everything, and I find that really nice because I do find some of the other instructions will just say like, you know, hold it this way to quarter it one way and then hold it the other way and blah, 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 blah. And it's just a bit messy. And this is just, it really just delivers you a very complete pattern. I will say that the cropped version is quite cropped. So if that's not your vibe, then you might want to make the full length version. I liked it cropped. I think it fits exactly where I want it to. I really like the fit of the smallest size. It definitely is a bit of a snugger fit when I make it the smaller size, but that's kind of what I wanted. Any dislikes that I have are just more a result of the fabric and my seams. It's not really about the pattern itself. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's a really great pattern. I will make this again in a more stable knit. I am curious to see how it would turn out, and maybe I'll try it again with the pocket. I'm really like excited to play around with this. I think it's a good staple to have. I think this one and the Stellen tee are really good classic t-shirts. The Stellen t-shirt being definitely a bit more of that like classic t-shirt shape, a bit more androgynous or genderless. I think the core t-shirt is a bit more feminine leaning overall. So depending on what you want, either one of those might be great for you. Both of them are ones that I would return to. The True Bias Jessie t-shirt is next, and this was the one I was the most excited about by far. I loved the shape. It's a bit more of like an out there shape, if I do say so. It's got a really like structured sleeve. It's quite cropped, it's boxy, but I think everything about it is just exactly what I wanted. It is definitely not your like average like standard t-shirt shape. It is quite different, but that's what I wanted again. I really wanted that like differentiating shape from the others, especially because I was making 5 t-shirts. I wanted one of them to be a bit different, and so I really like how this one turned out. As you can probably tell, I'm like really excited about it. I think it's my favorite of all of them. Actually, no, it is my favorite of all of them. I think the fabric combo that I used was really, really great and really helped like get the success that I had with this t-shirt. It is a bit more of a stable knit, and so as a result, it was easier to sew and I didn't have as many issues with it. One of the things I really liked specifically is that it tells you not to match up the neckband with the shoulder seam. So you're quartering the neckband into 4 different parts, and they tell you not to match it up with the side seams, that it comes down a little bit further. This is true of all of them. It's not that exact quadrant that you might think, but in my brain, I always wanted to make it match up with the shoulder seams, and I really appreciated that they tell you here not to do that. Like, this is not the equal distance, you have to have it a bit lower. Some of the other patterns do this well by showing you the diagram, but this I specifically liked because it told me outright, like, don't do this. And then from that moment on, I really understood, it like really clicked. I did have some issues with the wavy seams again, but again, that's my own fault. I made the 3rd size. I would definitely make the smallest size next time because it is quite a boxy, oversized fit. And then I will say that if you do make the cropped version, it's really cropped, like really, really cropped. I have a short torso, so I would say like if you want something cropped but not that cropped, you might want to like lengthen it a bit at the lengthen shorten line. I didn't, I just did right at the crop line, but yeah, it came out quite cropped, which is what I wanted, but it might not be for you. I actually didn't have any dislikes. I liked everything about this pattern. It was really enjoyable. I really loved the final product. And I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 because this is exactly what I wanted. I really like the shape. I find it really unique and it's really fun to wear. I'm gonna reach for this a lot and I can see myself making more of it for sure. And then last up we have Grainline Studios Hemlock T-shirt. I was the least excited about this one. I really like how it did turn out. I think it's quite nice. I will wear it, but I'll tell you a few things that I liked and didn't like. For one, I just found it really straightforward. I actually really like working with this fabric as well. It was a really nice stable jersey, really easy to sew. Yeah, it was a great jersey. I would buy more of this. It does curl a bit, which is kind of what happens with this sort of jersey, but I would take that over some of like the flimsiness of the other jerseys any day. I found the drafting really good. Everything was really straightforward. No complaints whatsoever. It was really clear. That said, it was the last one that I made, and so by this point I was like a seasoned pro. What I don't like is a sort of wider neckline, and I don't love the sleeves. They are quite fitted and a bit longer. I don't necessarily mind the length except for the fact that they're quite fitted and it's got a bit of like a drop sleeve. I do like it though. I like it more than I thought that I would. It's just, it's not something that I would reach for and I probably won't make this one again. I also found that the cropped version was so cropped. Like again, really cropped. It might even be too cropped for me, but I still like it. I will wear it. It's just, yeah, there are a few things that like while the other ones were so good, this one was just, it's just not my style. I think is kind of what it comes down to. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. I won't make it again, but I appreciate it. I'm happy that I have it. I'm happy that I tried it. And I'm happy that I could show you a bit of a different style from some of the other ones that I made. Ranking them all from favorite to least favorite, my favorite being the True Buys Jessie t-shirt, then the French Navy Stellen t-shirt, then the Closet Core t-shirt, then the Mood Fabrics Lavender t-shirt, and lastly the Grainline Studios Hemlock t-shirt. Now the question is, do these replace store-bought t-shirts? At this moment, I will say no. I love a good t-shirt and I'm really picky. And while these all turned out really well, they don't quite hit the mark. I think I need to work on my finishing details and maybe finally invest in a serger. I would love to know though, which one of these is your favorite? Have you made any of them? And please tell me in the comments, do you want me to do more of these videos? And if so, what would you like me to compare next? Please let me know. I thought this was a lot of fun and I would really like to do it again. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. I would also love if you subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking for more videos, you can click right here and I've got a whole bunch more for you to watch. See you next time. Bye.